Now we're going to talk about how to track the crypto Ponzi scams. First of all, a little about me. My name is Assaf, father of two. I'm a security researcher for the last 18 years, specialized in telecom and blockchain. I'm the CEO at a company called Nabu, which does blockchain anti-money laundering. I'm also a member of ITUT Study Group 11, and these are my handles. You can reach me however you want. So what's cryptocurrency? If everybody's here clear about this, then I go through it. I prepared some baseline slides in order to get everybody up to par. So cryptocurrency, or crypto for short, is basically a digital asset. The medium of exchange is using mathematical cryptography models to secure the transaction and control the creation of units of currency. Public cryptocurrencies are almost all decentralized. What does it mean decentralized? There's no single governing body that issues the coin or moderates the coin or controls its conversion or exchange ratio. Crypto is no governing body and is not regulated by anybody because of its decentralized nature, which means it exists on multiple jurisdictions at the same time. The engine that drives crypto is what we call DLT, which Leon talked about in the session yesterday, distributed ledger technology. A subset of DLTs that drives the most popular cryptocurrencies is called the blockchain. So cryptocurrencies are an alternative to the centralized regulated financial systems. Using cryptocurrencies, fraudsters can avoid the nuisances and annoying need of the traditional banking system to have an identity or know who are you and why do you have this money, where did you come, how did you come by this money. So crypto, because it's not regulated, does not require KYC, know your customer, does not require source of funds, does not perform any anti-money laundering or counter-terror financing checks. So you can invest in crypto, have it with you, trade it, move it around, trade with anyone you want. There's nobody regulating or checking this. So what is a distributed ledger? For instance, let's take a bank. A bank is what you call the gold standard. It has one database, very secure location, or supposedly secure location, and everybody who wants a copy of that database of how much money do you have in your account, do you have what's your account number, has to contact with the centralized entity, i.e. the bank, in order to get the correct data. So the correct and most up-to-date data is found in one place and one place only. That's centralized. Distributed ledger works that the database is replicated across a multiple number of nodes. Each node has a copy of the ledger. Each node has its own copy of the ledger, and the nodes agree on what is the correct and most up-to-date version of the database. This agreement process between the nodes on what to write into the database locally or what not to write to the database locally, it's called consensus, which means the nodes need to reach a consensus among them in order to decide that the current version of the database is the correct and up-to-date version. And each of that database is stored locally on each node. That's distributed and contrary to centralized. How does blockchain work? Let's say A wants to send money to B. So the transaction is represented as a block in the blockchain, okay, which is a chain of blocks. The node that wants to generate the transaction sends that block to all the other nodes in the network. And then there is the consensus, which means all the other nodes agree that this block is legitimate. In Bitcoin, this is called mining, where each node has to solve a complex mathematical problem and the first node to solve that problem is awarded with cash, with money, with Bitcoin. But once all the nodes have agreed and reached a consensus that this block is legitimate, it is added to the chain, and then B can receive its money. Because in blockchain, there's no balance. There's no one line in the ledger saying this is Mr. A's account and the balance is plus 20. A balance is calculated by summing up all the transactions from the Genesis block up to the most recent block. Because every transaction is written as another block, another line in the ledger. So once a transaction is validated by consensus, it is added to the chain. And how B sees the money, he tallies up all the blocks in his account from the Genesis block up until the latest block. And then the latest block adds a plus X to his benefit, to his wallet. So this is how he receives the money. By the way, please stop me if you have any questions. Yeah, go ahead.
So let me get this. So if each node mines or does a mining function, right? So the more nodes there are, the slower, I guess, the mining.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
So, okay.
The more nodes there are, the slower the mining process is, and the more trustworthy the blockchain becomes. Because if there are like 3 nodes in the network, then if 2 nodes agree, that's it. But then you have consensus based on 66%, and it can easily be fooled. If a bad actor hijacks 2 nodes in the network, or if there's 3 nodes in the network and a bad actor connects like another 4 nodes to the network, then the bad actor has a cartel and he can control the blockchain. And he can approve or disapprove blocks at his own discretion. So that's not a good thing.
So is there a threshold? Oh, it's not working. Okay, is there a threshold to...
It depends on the consensus algorithm of a specific blockchain. For instance, Bitcoin, it's 51%. So as long as it's above 51%, nodes reached consensus, the transaction is approved for Bitcoin. For other ledgers, other currencies, there are different kinds of consensus algorithms. Let's take Libra, for instance. Everybody knows Libra? I've heard of Libra? Facebook? Okay, so Libra is using a different model for consensus because it has classes of nodes. You can be just a viewing nodes. Anybody can be a viewing nodes and participate and have a copy of the ledger. But if you want to be a block generator, which means you have to pay Facebook like $10 million, and then you can be a block generator. And the consensus is only performed between the block generators, which is the circle that Libra always produced, like it was MasterCard, Visa, eBay, PayPal, which is now drastically reduced. But in Libra, it's different. Every blockchain has different algorithms. And because it's not regulated, so whoever created the blockchain decides on the algorithm. Okay? But, yes. It's a mathematical algorithm. Yes.
And how many nodes approximately in Bitcoin? Like
about 30,000.
30,000.
It changes daily because it's open source, so everybody can spin up a node and remove it, and there's about 30,000 nodes. In Bitcoin, it's 51%. It was the first, yeah.
Nodes.
Okay, so it's no trust. Okay, there's no need to trust. There's no need to identify. You take a server, either in your data center or cloud server. You pull the code for Bitcoin node, for instance. You pull the code from GitHub and you run it. And once you run it, the node joins the network. There is no authentication mechanism. There's no requirement for identity mechanism to join the pool of nodes. You send out a message on the internet, say, hi, I'm a node, I want to join, and you're automatically joined. That's it.
It accepts everyone?
Accepts everyone. So there are several types of blockchains. We'll try to classify them. Public versus private, and permissioned versus permissionless. This is exactly what we're talking about. Most of the cryptocurrencies today, the vast majority, lies in the public permissionless quarter, which means all the information is publicly available. The database is replicated on each node unencrypted. All the information is publicly available to anyone. Permissionless says that they accept anyone. You want to become a member of the ledger, take a server, plug in the code, run it, you're a member. No need to register, no need to provide any kind of identification. That is what permissionless means. You don't have to ask permission to join the network. You're accepted and by just asking. The permissioned, like Ripple or Libra, saying that in order to become a node in the network, you have to register. And then there is a governing body for Ripple. There is a governing body that governs who is allowed to join as a node to the blockchain. Libra is somewhere in the middle, because if you want to be a block generator, which means you're participating in the consensus, you have to register with Facebook and you have to pay them. But if you just want to be a node to view the information and have a local copy of the database, you can do that for free and nobody asks permissions. You don't have to ask permission. Private ledgers are exactly as they are. They are internal blockchains used for enterprises. In most cases, it's like supply chain management, or even some JP Morgan is experimenting in internalizing blockchain in its own banking systems. But it is exactly as you said, it is private. It is not exposed to the public. You cannot get access to the information. The information is owned by the company who runs that blockchain. And it's usually permissioned because it's on the internal network. We will be focusing today's talk on the public permissionless blockchains because the vast majority of cryptocurrencies, over 99% of them, reside in that quarter. Okay, Bitcoin. You have a question? Yes.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask about if we don't have any information or identity for the user, how can you assure that this will not be used for terrorists, for any illegal activities? Even, for example, if you are talking about Libra and talking about Facebook, we have many fake accounts for Facebook. Do we have any sort of security or maybe some constraints to assure that will be used in a positive way? Thank you.
So you're not here for the first session where Jami introduced that cryptocurrency is heavily used in criminal activities because it is without identity and nobody checks. So there is no built-in way into the public permissionless cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero, Zcash, Dash, Dash, EOS, Litecoin. There's no way to have an identity associated with an account. This workshop here today is about giving tools to track that money without knowing any identity, but up to the point where the money is turned to fiat, to dollars or euros or whatever other currency. In that particular point, there is KYC data, because exchanges in most countries today are regulated and are compelled to do KYC. So AML, anti-money laundering, for crypto is a growing area that resides basically on tracking and looking at the source of the funds, and heavily on intelligence. And we will go through this today. But there's no built-in mechanism inside the blockchain to do that. So Bitcoin is the first realization of blockchain. It was started in 2009 by the infamous Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who he is or who they are or who she is up until today. So it's the first realization. It's called blockchain. Every viable transaction is stored in a public ledger. It's public, it's permissionless, which means anybody can anytime view the data in its entirety from the Genesis block up until today, as transactions are placed in blocks, which are linked by hash algorithms, SHA-256, like you see in the simple diagram. Each block contains a link to its previous block. This is why it's a chain. And each block contains transactional data, which means each block is a group of transactions. It can be one-to-one transaction, which means one input, one output of money from A to B. And it could be many-to-many, which means multiple inputs going into multiple outputs. Okay, that's one block. The mining is based on the longer chain of consensus, which is the proof of work, which is solving the hash function. Hash function are mathematical functions that are easy to perform, computationally easy to perform on one way, but very, very hard to perform reversed. And the mining is awarded to the first node that solves the reverse hash, that creates the link between the proposed block and the previous block. So you see, basically it's a chain. If we zoom into each block, it has basically the hash, the fingerprint of its previous block. It has the transactional data of that block. It can be one transaction, it can be multiple transactions. And then the next block is generated and the process repeats itself day in, day out. Ethereum, the second most popular cryptocurrency today. It's very different from Bitcoin. It's different that in the essence that Bitcoin is a textual ledger. It contains text saying transaction A gave B amount C and D gave E amount H. But Ethereum, each block is basically code. It's code. It's that is executed, which means because it's code and not just text ledgers, it can support more additional, let's say, forms of transactions, not just the transfer of money from one point to another point. It can have auctions, it can have games, bets, legal agreements, because when you write code, you have much more flexibility in what is the terms and conditions of the transaction, not just like a ledger like we all knew, but when people, did accounting, they had like notebooks saying, okay, this one I gave money to this one I gave money to that, this I received money from here. It's like T accounts. Bitcoin is like T accounts if you're from the accounting world. Ethereum is much more complex. Each block is exactly linked to the previous block using a hash, just like Bitcoin, but the contents of the block is not transactional data. privacy blockchains. 2014, 2016 saw a change in blockchain because people didn't want their data to be public. Let's say I have a lot of Bitcoin because I started early. Why should you know that I have so much Bitcoin? Why should anybody else know my personal finances? Even if they don't, my name is not there, but if you somehow found out my wallet address because I want to transact with you and I gave you my wallet address, then you can look at the wallet address and see exactly how much money do I have. And why should I want you to know how much money do I have? We're not doing that. What?
Is Bitcoin searchable for addresses?
Yes, of course.
Oh.
Why should you know exactly? Because when I come up to you when we're doing a business transaction, I'm not going to give you a printout of my bank statement for you to see. So privacy blockchain came out. It's a new type of blockchain that basically obfuscates and encrypts the data on the ledger, which means the ledger is public. You can download the ledger and you can be a part of the network, but you cannot decrypt the amounts of each address or each wallet without a specific key, which only the wallet owner has. It's called a view key. Okay, so this feature basically negates the outside world, the outside observer's capacity to track transactions. And this is very, very important from the AML point of view. If so far we talked about that cryptocurrency is indeed anonymous, but it's trackable, privacy blockchains, it is anonymous and untrackable, which is the perfect hiding place for criminals and terrorists. And this is why there is a, let's say, I don't know any regulator currently that is even considering accepting privacy blockchains as a legal means of obscuring funds in their country. Because this is black money, plain and simple. You have no idea where it came from. People come up, I have $1 million, where did it come from? It came from Zcash. You have no idea where it came from. You cannot check. You can only trust what the person is saying. So to finalize this, blockchain terms. Write it down, there's going to be a test later. No, kidding. So we have Bitcoin, which we talked about. Altcoin. Altcoin is basically a name for all the other coins which are not Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin was the first, and then came out a lot of other coins and tokens, and they were commonly referred to as altcoin. Because Bitcoin still dominates about 67%, 68, 70% of the cryptocurrency market. Fiat. Fiat is basically government-controlled currency, which we all know, which is US dollars, which is euros, rubles, Russians, which is a currency issued and monitored and regulated by a government. This is a fiat currency. Address is the location of the funds. I'm going to talk about wallets. I'm going to talk about addresses. There is a relationship between them. They're not one-to-one. It depends on the blockchain. In Ethereum, a wallet equals an address. It's the same thing. In Bitcoin, you can have many, many addresses to one wallet because you can generate multiple addresses for the same wallet. But basically, you're going to be tracking addresses. Each transaction is between one address to another address. In Bitcoin, those addresses can be aggregated to wallets. So wallet, it's an address or a group of addresses associated with a user. So you have address, which is associated with the transaction. You have wallet, which is associated with a person. ERC20. Basically, ERC20, what Ethereum brought to the world is the ability to create additional tokens on top of the Ethereum blockchain, which is I can create a Assaf coin, which is another cryptocurrency, which is completely separate in terms of exchange value and usage, but it is still working on top of the Ethereum blockchain. Okay, so the name for that is ERC20. And Ether, transactions in Ethereum run on Ether, or gas for that matter. So in order to register a block, in Bitcoin you pay a fee that goes to the miner. In Ethereum, you pay gas fees, which also goes to the miner if you're talking about proof of work or proof of stake. And the last one is mainnet. When you talk about mainnet, you will see on the internet mainnet and testnet. Mainnet means this is the production blockchain. This is where the digital currency exists. Testnet is, as it is for testing. It's not a real live environment. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, in the previous slide, I got confused. Okay, so our wallet is associated with the user, right?
Yes.
So in a private blockchain, the wallet is encrypted?
No, the content of the wallet, the amount of money in it.
Okay. So now, if I'm running, let's say, on a Bitcoin network, so of course there's anonymity, but if I place a private, can I use Bitcoin in a private blockchain?
No, no. There are currently two types of privacy blockchains, which are the most popular ones, which is Monero and Zcash. There's silos, which means you need to purchase Monero from someone who has Monero. You can pay him, the person, with Bitcoin, but then there will be two transactions, one in Bitcoin ledger going from you to another person, and another transaction in the Monero ledger from that person to you. You have to open an address on Monero, or open a wallet and have an address in Monero. Once you acquire Monero, you can acquire them from individual person or from exchanges. There are some exchanges that trade Monero, or Zcash for that matter, and you have to acquire that, and then you can trade that money. What you do in the Monero and Zcash is completely untraceable and completely anonymous. And once you want to exfiltrate, want to convert the money back. So I don't know any exchange willing to convert Monero or Zcash to cash. None do that because they're violating a license. You can exchange Monero and Zcash to Bitcoin or back to Ether, and then go to another exchange and convert that Bitcoin or that Ether to cash. Okay, but each cryptocurrency is in its own ledger with no connections. It's silos. It's like pillars. If you want to trade between them, you have to do it either with another person or through an exchange. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
So you're saying that if you are holding Bitcoin, there is no possibility of changing that to Ether?
You can have multiple wallets. You can have a wallet in Bitcoin, you can have a wallet in Ether, you can have a wallet in Dash. You can open yourself wallets in any cryptocurrency you wish. You can have tens of wallets, hundreds of wallets. Each wallet contains their own currency. You can't have one wallet. Actually, today you can. There are many services that gives you multi-currency wallets. But in the base of the technology, you cannot mix coins. You have to have baskets, you have to have different wallets for each coin. Today there are services on the internet that offer you custodiancy, and they will say, I will keep your money safe. And then they can have multiple wallets, but when you want to trade, you always trade under the same silo. Okay, so if you want to change coins, it's not like if you go to let's go to a foreign currency exchange, and you want to trade your local currency to US dollars or vice versa. So what happens on the back office? of the exchange. They take, let's say they take the US dollars and they sell and they give that US dollars to a bank. Okay? And they buy local currency from the bank and give it to you, right? They have their own pool inside for small amounts, which they can exchange quickly. But if you're talking about large amounts, then you have to deposit it and then it gets purchased and repurchased, right? So it's the same mechanism, exactly the same mechanism. So when you go up to an exchange, you give them Bitcoin, and if they have enough currency in the pools to give you Ethereum or to give you Monero or Zcash, then they give you from their existing pools. If they don't have enough, then they will go out, take the Bitcoin that you gave them, buy the other currency, and then give it to you. Is that clear? Any other questions? All right. So I tend to have a coffee break here, but it's time planning. How do we track it? The tool we use to track crypto is called Block Explorer. It's a free online tool on the internet. Some of it's free, some of it's paid. But basically, all public permissionless blockchains have block explorers. They're tools they use. Privacy blockchains also have block explorers, but if you don't have the view key, it's pretty much useless because you don't know what's happening. And also, block explorers are usually free. They're usually maintained by nonprofits that runs the blockchain, by the same nonprofit that runs the blockchain. Because of legal liability, most blockchains in existence, if they have somebody who invented them and that person is exposed, they're often nonprofit organizations and they open source everything. Because in this way, they're not legally liable if someone uses the blockchain for terrorism or crime. So because it's open source, there's a big community out there that generates those block explorers and gives you the tools. And they also have machine APIs, which means that if you want to create software that tracks automatically, you can, using those API for machines. We are going to use 4 tools or 3 tools for this session. If you want, I don't think, is there a copy of the presentation on the web? On the website? No. So if you want to take a minute, open your laptops and log in and go into those because you're going to need it later. Start with walletexplorer.com. That's the first one. Okay? Okay. So, Block Explorer 101. What we input to the Block Explorer is an address or a wallet or a hash or a transaction ID. And what we get is the value and history, if any, of the search items. For example, let's look at this Bitcoin address. Okay. What do you want from me? Hold on. Screen. Where is it? Okay. Okay, so basically this is the wallet address that we clicked on. You see the total amounts received, total sent, by the way. For instance, today's conversion rate, 1 Bitcoin equals about $7,200. So this specific account holds around $100,000, $100,000, $150,000 in today's exchange rate. Currently, you see the final balance, which is 0, which means this wallet has moved this address, transacted about $100,000 during the time of its existence, and currently it holds about 0. And then you see all the transaction history. Okay, you see from which address to which address and the amount transacted. You see the pluses, which is saying this wallet received, this address received funds, and you see the minuses, which means that this wallet sent out funds.
Can you see where it sent them to?
Yes, this address. And you can click on this address and start following. And you see that this specific wallet is currently has a huge balance of, and it transacted around a few $1 million during its activity. So you start to understand the amounts of money that are being moved here. And nobody looks at that. Nobody watches this. Okay, and you can still do that, but let's go back to the presentation. And there's also Ethereum Explorer. Okay. So this is for Ethereum. Okay. This specific wallet is exchange wallet, and you can see the same here. Let's look at this specific block explorer is nice because you see the address graph. And you can actually see a very, very nice graph of the transactions. This is an exchange wallet, so it has a lot of transactions. But look, they did really nice work on exactly how to look. You can actually zoom in and see a lot of things. But we'll look at that for smaller wallets. Then the graph will be much easier to swallow. So this Block Explorer is the main tool used in tracking crypto.
When you look at these Block Explorer accounts, can you search and set parameters such that I want to see every account that traded over $1 million today? No.
You have to build software to do that. Okay. So crypto scams.
But it can be built.
Yes. I've built one. Crypto scams are usually built like trees. Okay? Or if they're highly complex, like MMM, it's graph. Graph means that there's more than one root to the tree. Usually, they have public-facing wallets, which is the wallets or the addresses that appear in the advertisements, saying, here, invest here, and then they show you where to put the money. The blockchain account, they say, here, deposit here. This is what I call the public-facing. The public-facing wallets, because they are public and can be searched through social media or the internet, are usually funneled. All the funds there are funneled out to an elaborate network of other wallets in order to hide the money. And then after the funneling, it gets collected in a root wallet or several root wallets. From there, it gets laundered and again then converted to fiat. Okay, how do we find those public-facing wallets? So basically intelligence. It's what Jami said. Jami said, Scan the web. IM groups like WhatsApp, Telegram, dark web. How many of you here or had or someone related to them received an email from a hacker saying they hacked your computer and they photographed you surfing into some naughty sites, and they will release that information to all of your contact list if you don't pay them money? Have any of you encountered this thing?
My dad gets them all the time.
Yeah. So these are basic scams, and you can collect that. If you scan the web, if you scan Facebook, scan WhatsApp, Instagram messages, or get feeds from that, scan the dark web, you're going to get a lot of, let's say, I call it like dirty addresses, which is public-facing wallets that are directly linked to criminal activity because they are appearing in the advertisement or the solicitation of illegal goods like drugs, weapons, prostitution. Also, if you don't want to build your own machine to scan it, there are also several open source contribution funded projects that aggregate this intelligence into intelligence where you and I can look without having to build to be AI programmers. You have EtherScamDB and you have Bitcoin Abuse, those two sites. For EtherScamDB, it's a nice site. Currently, it has it holds 7,000 scams from Ethereum. But most of them are Ethereum-based scams from the name EtherScam, and currently about 450 active. And you can scan the web, see whether it's active or not, what is the type. You can get information, and in the information you can see the hosting, the name servers, and the related addresses, which give you a starting point. Okay? And this is just an example. So you have these sites.
Who's behind this site? Sorry.
It's a non-profit. It's basically a community of programmers doing it for fun, or not for fun, but for public good.
So what's the margin of error? Is it possible they put an investment up there that's valid?
That's not. Yeah, that could be. Don't take, in this world of crypto and internet, don't take anything for granted.
But I'm wondering how they aggregate the data and what they check it against to ensure that they're putting up a scam that's negative versus.
You can always talk to them.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's run, EtherScamDB is run, I don't know, you can donate. The code is, the full website is open source. You can scan it. I have here, scamdb.org. Who runs it? I have no idea. My crypto. That's powered by it, doesn't mean they are actually the running.
I'll look at it.
I have no idea, but the service is nice in terms that it does offer you
a service.
And it's free. But once again, don't trust it completely. Check everything. But yes. You have a question?
It's just interesting, the IP address.
For which one? This one? It's offline. It was a Ripple scam. See that? This is the usual trust, say, double your money scam, saying deposit double your money, 10 times your money. Deposit 1, I'll give you 10, or deposit 1, I'll give you 5. And this one was for Ripple specifically. Okay. So that's the site. It's a useful tool. Okay. And Bitcoin abuse is the same, very much like alike, but for Bitcoin. Who runs it? I have no idea. You see all of it's donation based, maybe in the terms. Well, Jamie, yeah, you're a lawyer, you can read this.
See if there's any contact details other than just a. No.
Nope. So, anyway, there's our reports. Last one is like 31 minutes ago. Like EtherscamDB and this site are basic, their database is usually based on people reporting in of scams. Maybe they have also an internal mechanism to scan the blockchain or the web, but I think in most cases just people reporting scams. Okay, so this one is a sextortion. What I told you about that. Usually you get an email about that someone has filmed you viewing some sex sites.
Looks like it's self-reported. Send it a poorly translated Dutch email address to my email to my address claimed. So it gives stories about what happened.
Yes. So you have these two sites. These are the best sites that I could find, the most credible. There are dozens of others, but these hold the most data. As I said, these sites are far from complete. They're community generated, and you have to take it at that, at face value. There are more paid tools that gather their own intelligence, but they cost quite a lot of money to access. So, as I said, the simple funneling of a scam is that you have the public-facing wallet. That money flows through a network of funneling wallets up until the point it reaches the root wallet. And from the root wallet, the money is then headed to either exchanges or it hops coins, and then tries, basically the scammer tries to materialize the money and exfiltrate it into fiat. So what can complicate this tree, which is quite simple? First one is exchange pools. Centralized exchanges, just like currency exchanges, work with inbound and outbound pools. Cash in, cash out, which means if I receive currency, the address that the currency is transferred to is a pool address that receives money from many, many different clients, just like a currency exchange. When he receives currency from you, he puts it in the drawer or the safe. There's no way to tell the difference of the banknotes of who gave him which banknote. So that's the pool. And also the outbound pool is when I hand out cash, I open the drawer, the safe, and I take out the banknotes from there or the tokens from there, and I give it to someone. There's no way to discern who received what and who gave what. So that's something that complicates the simple tree. The second one is coin mixers. In Bitcoin, like I said, there is a possibility to do many-to-many transactions. Single transaction has multiple inputs and multiple outputs, which means the tokens are mixed. You have no idea of the cross of who gave what to whom. And of course, there's token swaps or atomic swaps, which means if I own Bitcoin and Jamie owns Ethereum and we want to swap, so I open an Ethereum account, which is empty, and Jamie opens a Bitcoin account, which is empty. I transfer Bitcoin from my account to Jamie's account, and she transfers Ethereum from her account to my account. Because there's no link between the two blockchains, there's at face value no way to tell that I've converted my money from Bitcoin to Ethereum. There is a way, but later on. So that complicates the tree. Where do we stop tracking? When do we know we've reached the end? So two conditions. One, we've reached the root wallet with positive balance that has no outgoing transactions, which means it's collecting money and not transferring it out. Second, we've reached an exchange pool. If we saw that the funneling led to an exchange pool, if it's a regulated exchange, then they should have the KYC data of the last wallet that transacted to their pool. Okay, is that clear? So if I get to an exchange, the last wallet that I saw should provide KYC data to the exchange. So in that case, law enforcement can come in with a warrant and ask for that KYC data from that exchange. Okay, let's look at the use case. Let's go look at the MMM. So from intelligence, by the way, from the same way the researchers in the paper that Jami mentioned found out through Bitcoin Talk, I looked at one Bitcoin address. Let me show you how. So you go to Bitcoin Talk, and I did a search for members. Okay. When I did a search, and then I want to search for MMM. And I search. Oh, this will take a lot of time. Okay, so I can look, see there's a lot of MMM mentions on the board. Use this Ponzi scheme because accepted. A lot of information there. If I go to members, search for members, and I search for website, and have MMM in the website. Then you see a lot of users. Let's take this one, for example. Website MMM Global. So, which means he's involved in some way in MMM. There's the wallet. Okay. So I took this approach and I looked at this wallet in Wallet Explorer. You know what? Let's go away. Okay, never mind. Hold on. Sorry. Didn't figure it will take this long. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is the address that I found on Bitcoin Talk related to MMM. It's a Leaf wallet. And I looked at the Wallet Explorer and I saw all of these transactions. The balance is currently 0. Okay. So I'm seeing two things. So I see this wallet received funds from an exchange. See, Wobi, which is a Chinese exchange, and 2 other private wallets. And I see that the first deposit of 22 Bitcoin from Wobi was funneled out, directly converted. And the second deposit that was funneled out, and the second deposit from these wallets was converted again. So,
what's the value of Bitcoin again?
1 Bitcoin is $7,200. As of, changes all the time. Let me show you. $7,300. Okay. So the first deposit was funneled, and the second deposit was directly converted back to cash. So let's follow the first deposit. We've reached a funneling wallet. how do we know a wallet is a funneling wallet? It's easy. All of the money going in goes out. You see, we have 3 cycles here. The first cycle ended up with 0 balance. The second cycle, 0 balance. Third cycle, 0 balance. That's the main characteristic of a funneling wallet. Okay? With plenty of traffic. So let's dive into the first funneling wallet, okay? This one. That's the address, which is another funneling wallet. We see outputs with 0 balance. And so looking at this wallet, we see additional funding. It sent to some other transactions, and it also, go here, hold on. You see a couple of transactions. First of all, BTC to how BTC, BTC, where is it? Ah, okay, no, let's look at it on the internet. Wi-Fi connection here is a little. Okay. Let's look at the wallet. See, address is part of a wallet. Okay. Here it is. Okay. So we see it received 31 Bitcoin. It sent 18 of them to convert in BBTC, which is an exchange, and it funneled another part. It exfiltrated another 11 Bitcoin in AUBTC, a small amount in BTC trade, then received another 14, and the cycle repeats. Okay. Okay. Currently, the last exfiltration was 268 Bitcoin. By the way, if you want to see, 268 is almost $200,000. Okay, so that's MMM. Yeah.
Is that now from an individual or it aggregates?
I don't know yet. I don't know if one person is running these wallets or several. I have no idea. Just because this wallet, hold on, this wallet traded with BTC Trade, AUBTC, BTCC, which means those exchanges have the KYC data of this wallet. So law enforcement can go to BTCC, AUBTC, with a warrant and get that data. And then you will know if the person behind it is a single individual or it may be a front, but you have someone to interrogate. Yeah.
And is there a way to reverse engineer who the victims are? Like to
Yes,
yeah.
you can trace back, but once again, there's no KYC data.
Yeah.
So if you go back to the root wallet, the public-facing wallet, okay, this wallet, you see it received this 1 Bitcoin, it received 3 Bitcoin from those wallets.
Mm-hmm.
But those wallets are probably victims, which are private persons, and you have no idea who they are.
Yeah, that's what I meant, because the other research, that the one that you flagged from November, was able to look at the chat and figure out.
Yeah, if their addresses appear in Bitcoin chat, then maybe they have a username.
Yeah, they were able to figure out a
Yeah.
percentage of them. Because I'm thinking you need a victim to have the crime, otherwise you don't know that necessarily that wasn't for a legitimate purpose.
I found the Leaf wallet was found through Bitcoin Talk. Mm-hmm. Okay, that was the Leaf wallet. But if you can reverse engineer, you can definitely, there's no system to do it. You have to write it. You have to write the code that does that. But you can, because Bitcoin Talk is open and it's queryable, and this is also queryable, so you can write a system that backtracks and gathers that affiliates that information. If we go back here, we see that this is both the funneling is very, it's very complex. MMM is a complex scheme, which is you see wallets are both funneling money and wallets that are also converting it, exfiltrating it.
So this is 2015 data, right? These
no,
are the transaction
yeah,
dates?
2015, yeah. This is December
So
2015.
these are people who might very well never have gotten their money, who might be ready to be.
Yes. And if you go and see where those $200,000 went, okay, let's go here. Okay. Not yet. It's not yet. Okay. Okay, let's look at that. You get to the root wallet. Hold on a second. Sorry. Hopefully when you do it, it will be not as slow. Okay, let's look at the wallet. Okay, so this wallet, you know what? Let's look at this wallet in another Explorer, which is, oh, sorry. Wallet Explorer. Okay. Once again, only forbidden. Let's look at this another way. Okay, so this wallet has funneled so far 36,470 Bitcoin, which translates to I think billions of dollars.
Oh my.
No, $267 million. This what was funneled through this wallet currently has a balance of 0, and this wallet transacted over over $54 million from May until a week ago. This is 2019. This is December. This is yesterday, 2 days ago.
I'm sure they're paying taxes on that.
Yeah, and by the way, they should, and I think they are. I think they are, because tax authorities move as fast as there's the single branch of government which is efficient. The tax authority. There's two sure things in life: death and taxes. Well,
what is the balance now?
Balance is 0, but this is because there is a new animal I've not mentioned yet. That animal is called hot and cold wallets. Hot wallet means that this wallet is connected and is online, which is it is on a machine that is connected to the internet, either a PC or your phone or a server. Cold wallet is a wallet which is not connected to the internet. It could be a USB key, thumb drive, or any other hardware appliance, or an offline device. So usually, when you talk about these kinds of money, people don't trust online because it could be hacked. So they use these wallets in tandem with cold wallets. which store the majority of the cash, which they keep on their person in order to evade.
Which was the Quadriga issue.
Yes. No, the Quadriga issue was they lost the keys.
Oh.
It was hot, but they didn't have the keys. So after, yeah. This one is hot because the balance is zero. You see a lot of transactions, but you don't see the cycle that we had in the funneling wallet. In funneling wallet, you see a cycle. Money goes in, money goes out. Balance is zero. Here, the balance is, it doesn't zeroize. Okay? So it gets money, it sends out some of the money, but the balance is never zeroized. So, which leads me to believe, as an investigator, that because there's a lot of money transacted in this account, a lot in this wallet, so probably there's a cold wallet somewhere. It's only logical, because this is like the hot wallet, which keeps like some balance in order to maintain the livelihood of the business, but the rest of the money is stored somewhere safe. And looking at these transactions, I'm not going to bother you with going through the entirety because it transacted a whole lot. It did over 4,500 transactions. So I did the work. And this is probably how to with this cold wallet. And I found what I think is the cold wallet, which currently holds about 400 Bitcoin, which is equal currently to which is currently like $3 million. So someone has on their person a thumb drive with $3 million. Yeah.
So it's the same way you're actually able to get cold wallet address right? So for you to use a cold wallet, you must initially begin from a hot wallet.
Yes.
Okay. And that's how you're able to sort of trace.
Yes. How we did that? I looked at the transactions here, and I tried to find transactions here for the same wallet. See this? So I looked at I did like a histogram analysis, and I saw how much money was funneled out, and I saw one wallet sticking out, that a lot of money was transacted to a lot of other accounts, but one had the most transactions to that account. And I looked at that and I saw the 400 Bitcoin balance, and I say, okay, this is probably the cold wallet.
Sending money to this wallet and this address, I must actually
Yes.
Be online.
You have to be online for that.
So can
Yeah.
you find the ISP that person uses, their preferred?
Depending, because depends
They
on
might be routing it all over.
yeah, if they're smart, they are using VPNs and routing, but it depends on the node. Because Bitcoin, anybody can do anything, so not all of the Bitcoin nodes are exact duplicates of each other. Because the code is open source, some people change it. Many companies that run wallets, you can go to websites and open Bitcoin wallets. There's a company behind it. That company is custodians of your money. And they open the wallet for you and give you access. And this is usually done with them running a node. Because some of the nodes are different from others, and in the Bitcoin protocol, the IP address of the wallet is reported during the transaction, but it's not mandatory. So some of the nodes publish this information, some of the nodes don't. So if that specific wallet has transacted through a node that publishes the IP address, then you can find the ISP of the person who has the cold wallet, but it's not guaranteed. It's not in 100% of the cases, but it's possible. But if that person is smart, then he uses VPN, and his ISP is definitely in another country. Especially if someone has like $3 million on their person, I think they're
Probably doing that.
trying to keep their money. Yeah.
So a simple question. Allow me. So if the wallet provider happens to, usually it's the node that's operating, can if the node stops operating, then what happens to the wallet?
Depending on if they're custodians of your money is gone. Yes. But if you have a cold wallet, a hardware wallet, and you just transact small amounts to the custodiancy, then it's just like banks. If you deposit your money to a bank and the bank collapses, your money's gone. Maybe the government will vouch for it. Most likely not. Look at what happened in 08 when banks collapsed and the government did not vouch for people's money. If you have insurance, but basically because this whole field is completely unregulated, you're on your own. So use your best wits and skills to protect yourself. Nobody is going to guarantee your money. Even worse, if the exchange you work or the wallet provider is hacked and the money is stolen, like it happened a lot of times in the past, you get nothing. Like Quadriga, for instance. Quadriga, do you know the story of Quadriga? It's a funny, sad story. Quadriga was a regulated exchange in Canada, who was founded by, I don't have his picture here, but by a nice Canadian fellow. And they were pretty big for a while. They were fully regulated and licensed by the Canadian government. They reported everything. They did KYC, as they were told. At some point, he brought in a partner. I guess he needed more money, so he brought in a partner. That partner has already spent jail time in the US for money laundering and for money scams. So he brought in a partner, and he was a partner in the firm. And the firm grew and grew and grew. And the founder made more money and more money. And he married a beautiful wife. And he had bought private jets. And, property and start living the life. And then on a trip to India, he drowned. Yes. Alone, in a boat. Nobody knows exactly what happened.
No, he died of Crohn's disease, remember?
Crohn's? No, I think he drowned.
The story was he was very ill with Crohn's disease, yet he decided to go to India, where it's very likely you would have an attack because your digestive system is very, very sensitive and your immune system is very low functioning. And the story is that he developed an attack and was treated in an Indian hospital, but died.
Yeah.
There was a death certificate produced by one of the Indian government entities, but very mysterious circumstances as to, one, why would he go there in the first place with Crohn's disease? It's kind of like committing suicide. But two, his wife was with him. They had been very newly married for a short period of time. So there's suspicion around her, as well as Assaf mentioned, this shady business partner. And a lot of conspiracy theories out there as to, is he really dead? Is he living somewhere, the high life in an island on his, or off an island on his yacht? And Assaf was...
Yeah, so the thing is that he held the private keys to the exchange's wallets. So with him dead, nobody knew that. They lost access to the funds. And they were missing $150 million went missing. So the company obviously filed for bankruptcy, and the Canadian courts appointed EY as the monitor for the company. And EY, through another law firm, contacted us to try to recover and try to investigate and recover the money. And what we found was pretty alarming. First of all, out of the $150 million, about 65 million were recovered, were found, and then brought back to the people, the investors. But the more alarming figure was that the $150 million that the company transacted over its legal transaction business was overshadowed by $750 million that were funneled through Quadriga directly from crime and then laundered through another exchange. So we found $750 million that was dirty money, was linked directly to criminal activities, drugs, weapons, money trafficking, women trafficking. And then it was transacted into the Quadriga wallets, the pools, okay? And from the pools, it was transacted to Bitfinex and then converted to fiat. Because Bitfinex trusted Quadriga because Quadriga was fully licensed and regulated by the government. So the going theory right now is that the shady business partner is basically a criminal connection, which turned Quadriga into a front for criminal activities, and the legal activity was a cover. And maybe I personally believe that the person who founded it was, caught in the stream. I don't think he meant to do that. I think he brought in bad people and they took over the business. And
did you see from the transaction timings that they coincided with the bringing on the new partner?
I don't know exactly when they brought on the new partner, so it could be on before it was legally, signed. Papers were signed.
What about the remaining? You said that out of the 150 million lost, you recovered 65 million. What about the difference?
Also other firms, we together, not just our firm, but
but
other
what about
firms.
that big chunk of money?
A big chunk of money sits there in the wallet, but nobody has access to it. We found it, but you can't access it. That's and they didn't take out insurance. So okay, but let's continue. Funny story, or funny sad story.
Will be a film, I'm sure.
No, I don't think so.
I think so. Netflix.
Okay, so we found the cold wallet, and the cold wallet is around $3 million. Currently holds 438. It currently holds what is it? No, here. 379. So the guy spent a little. And you see the last activity is yesterday at 11 p.m. This is GMT, by the way. Okay? Oh, UTC, sorry. This time is UTC. So it's active. So if we looked at MMM and we trace it a little bit, we found huge sums of money that are going around from people, collected and then exfiltrated, and you find $3 million just sitting around on somebody's pocket. If you can find that person, it's probably one of the heads of the organization. So, like any good financial investigation unit says, follow the money. Follow the money, you reach the head. So using these tools, as you see, starting point was Bitcoin talk. I found one wallet. I started tracing the money, and I got to the root wallet. Okay? And the tools that I've used were free online tools and some know-how and common sense. So what's next? This campaign can be further mapped. I have not even scratched the surface. You see, the structure is not a simple tree. It's a lot of branches, a lot of turns and twists in the track of the money. So given proper time and investment, this can actually be fully mapped. And a picture of the money funneling of MMM can be discovered. Law enforcement can contact the regulated exchanges, as I saw you before, BTCC, WOBI, and they can get the KYC data of the wallets that transacted with them. And then arrests can be made and further investigation can be made.
But because geographically they don't necessarily know where these crimes are being committed, there's not the incentive. What I would suggest is that they create an artificial incentive like whistleblowers to track these and reward them with a percentage of the recovery.
I come from Israel. In Israel, there's a mechanism which is called overseas questioning. Let's say that BTCC is, I don't know, Malta. Okay? So basically the Israeli police contacts through Interpol or Europol. It contacts the Maltan authorities and gave them all the case, and then they request to come in and receive. So the warrant is actually issued by the Maltese courts, on the request of the Israeli police.
But the investigation started, why? I mean,
In Israel,
yeah,
because someone
complained.
Someone got blamed. But the thing is that it doesn't have to be that way. With systems constantly scanning this and constantly collecting intelligence from sites and from the web, you can constantly map out these scams without anybody coming forth as a victim. And so the starting point of the investigation can be software generated. It doesn't have to be someone, so you can actually take down these scams before they collapse, and where there's money to be collected. So if you get to that person and you can collect the $3 million he has on his person, then that money can be returned to the victims. Usually when you investigate a scam like this, it's after it's collapsed and there's no more money. But as you can see in MMM, there is, at least I found $3 million. and I'm sure there's more, which can be collected and returned to the victims. This money is there.
Yeah, that's just one active scheme. When we looked at Nigeria, there were like 90 and we stopped counting.
Exactly. So if you use these kind of methods and you generate your leads from the marketing campaigns of the scams, you can get to accounts or wallets which have money that can be forfeited, that can be confiscated with the right legal warrants. And if that money sits somewhere in another country, there are international organizations like Interpol which can help countries get the right warrants in order to confiscate the money in other countries. But because cryptocurrency is borderless and exchanges are all over the world, it gets much more difficult, I agree. Let's look at another use case. I pulled one from, yeah.
Excuse me, you told us about a criminal happened in Israel, and there is a cooperation between police and the exchange.
Yes.
Is there any rules or regulation imposed on the exchange?
Any rules for, sorry?
Any rules imposed in the exchange or can be imposed on the exchange to enforce the exchange to cooperate with the police or other lawful interception agencies?
In Israel, cryptocurrency exchanges are licensed just like foreign currency exchanges, which means they are mandated to keep records, they are mandated to keep KYC data, and they are mandated to hand that data over to law enforcement if required with a court order. Okay?
Okay, and why this is not happened in other countries?
It does.
It does.
In most, you have two types of exchanges. You have regulated exchanges, which you can convert your crypto to fiat, and you can get dollars and euros from. These has to be regulated because they have a link to the traditional banking system, and the countries which they reside in are regulating them. You talk about Switzerland, you talk about Philippines, you talk about Japan, United States, Malta, Gibraltar. Those are the big countries. Maybe I forgot someone. Singapore. So in those countries where you have regulated exchanges, they are governed. The thing is that you have unregulated or decentralized exchanges, which are not regulated, but those exchanges cannot give you fiat. They can switch coins, but they not give you fiat.
And in Israel, do the regulated exchanges have to turn over suspicious transaction reports to the central bank?
Yes. Just like foreign currency exchange. They're regulated under the same license. If you're a financial regulator, and in Israel there's no different license currently for a cryptocurrency exchange versus foreign currency exchange, so they fall under the same license. There is legislation on the way for that, but in most countries, like you have Singapore is promoting, and in January 1st is going to be in effect a new legislation that governs cryptocurrency exchanges in its territory with different rules than foreign currency. Switzerland has very, very advanced regulation and legislation for cryptocurrency exchange. Very good, by the way. It's a good place to be. United States has some decent rules. And once Singapore does it, all of the Asian countries also copy it. So Philippines is going to be one there. Thailand's going to be there. Indonesia. They usually copy what MAS does. So if you want to give out fiat, you have to be regulated, or you're black market, and that's something completely different. Okay.
But I see a problem already with this. If you're asking crypto exchanges to report suspicious transactions to a regulator that already is the same group of human resources analyzing all the suspicious transactions with financial institutions that are regulated and licensed, you've given them double the work, the same amount of resources.
This is why we offer them also tools. We're negotiating, specifically my company is negotiating with the Israeli Financial Investigation Unit to give them a tool to reduce the workload. Usually there are also not just our tools, there's also other commercial available tools that can reduce the workload.
But still, it requires a new budget.
Yes.
Allocation.
Yes, definitely. But this is the growing economy. This is the new kind of economy. The world is moving, so maybe there's basically I still believe it's not full zero-sum game, but it's gonna be zero-sum game because transactions going to move from cash, credit cards, traditional world into the crypto economy, and if that happens, there are going to be less transactions. So you're right that at this point of time, the workload will increase, but I think maybe 5-6 years from now, it will decrease until the next thing comes up. So any questions about MMM before we go to another scam? Okay, so I'd look at EtherScamDB. I showed you the database, and I just pulled one which is active. It looks like a crypto, like a Ponzi. I don't know if it looks, to me it looks like a Ponzi. Okay, 140% after 48 hours, 350% after 72 hours. Nice. So let's look at that. So bitdonor.com. Where is it? It is, where did I put it? Here we go. Nice guy.
He looks very trustworthy.
Yeah. Hipster type, glasses, beard. Okay, best plans. This is live, man.
It's a nice website too.
Yeah.
Compared to M&M's.
Yeah, you have testimonials with people tweeting about it, YouTubing about it. You have the latest withdrawals and deposits by Bob, which is a very, very distinctive name. And it accepts Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, perfect payer. And they also have a chatbot.
Well, let's chat with them.
Yeah, if you want to. I don't care. So I looked at the address where I need to deposit the money. And what I found is this. And when I looked at it, it's a very busy wallet. It's active from March, and it transacted around $14,000. This is a small scam. It's not MMM. But in the last 9 months, it made $14,000. They exfiltrated directly from the input wallet to Luno and Coin Payments, which means there's KYC data for that specific scam in Luno and Coin Payments. And about 75% of the cash were funneled to another address. This wallet. So it has 46 transactions and 12 funneling cycles. Remember, funneling is cycles. You get money, you pass it on. You get money, you pass it on, and on and on and on again. Largest amounts were funneled here. This is the root wallet from where the funds are converted to fiat, and funneled to 2 other funneling wallets. Once again, this is not a very simple tree. It usually is a little more complex. If we look at the root wallet, This is a hot wallet. Let's look at it. So this is a hot wallet. See, the balance is not very large, but it doesn't zero. Okay. It exfiltrates some money through Wobi, which is a Chinese exchange, which means there is KYC data at Wobi for this wallet, but good luck getting it from the Chinese.
Can I share something from
Yes,
their
sure.
FAQs? If you look at this, at BitDonor's frequently asked questions, the first question is, what is the main idea behind the establishment of Bitcoin? It allows you to verify the corporate status. Click on that, it clicks over to a government UK site for company listings, and it will tell you that the company itself was dissolved in September of this year. So by admission, they're no longer an existing company.
That's nice. So funds were exfiltrated to Wobi. This wallet also probably works in tandem with a cold wallet, with several cold wallets. Major one being this wallet. Currently holds around 15 Bitcoin or 100K. And yeah, and when we go to this wallet, which is another hot wallet, we hit the jackpot. Because this wallet, see, it currently holds around 80. See, it changes. I wrote the presentation a little back. We got to this wallet, which it transacted. It held, when I wrote this presentation, 116. Hold on, where? Oh, sorry. It used to have, in its peak, where here, 19,000 Bitcoin. So my guess that the scammers who run BitDonor, this is just the latest scam. They funnel the money from other scams as well. So currently, there were how much is that? $142 million in this wallet. And they're pretty much gone now. So right now is zero. And
So
all of that money, you see it moved to another wallet, the same wallet. So they moved the money. So if we took at moving the money, we currently see that it had 57,000 Bitcoin. It was yesterday. Okay, and $57,000 is $424 million. Hold on. And this money has also been moved here, and moved again, and moved again, and moved again, and we can keep. Opa, here we go. Here it is. Okay, it's here.
can you also search by the officer name that's linked
No.
to this? No.
No. You can only search by address, hash, transaction.
Okay. Because here you have the name of the corporate officer who filed.
Yeah. So this is a very recent wallet. It was opened recently. As you see, they're trying to hide the money. They're moving it around. But when this money is, if you go back, you see that smaller portions of the money go to another wallet. Okay? Besides the fee, you see smaller portions of the money go to other wallets, and maybe you can trace it through that. But once that wallet transacts with another wallet, then you can start reintegrating and looking for the points of exfiltration through regulated exchanges where KYC data is. So this wallet that we saw today, right now, this one, so this one currently holds a little over $400 million. So,
do you think they do that just to hide the money, or
yes.
they do that to earn more money?
No, they hide it.
Evaluate?
They hide it because they want to eliminate the history as much as possible.
Yeah, because there is a movement about the price of the Bitcoin right now.
There's always a movement of the price of the Bitcoin.
They are trying to.
Movement of if you move the money on the same blockchain, it doesn't help you in terms of exchange rate. You know, Bitcoin value was down to like $3,000. It was at the start of 2019. It was around $10,000, or sorry, $20,000. I have no idea if it's one person or not. It can be. Until it reaches a point where there's KYC data somewhere, we have no idea. We can just track it, follow the money until it reaches some point where it can be identified. So what's next? So this campaign also can be further mapped, like we saw. And from looking at that campaign for BitDonor, we see these 4 wallets interacting directly with regulated exchanges, which means that using the proper court orders, we can approach those regulated exchanges and request the KYC data for those wallets. And then we can interrogate these people and find out more information. Maybe they can lead us to more people, and maybe we can catch some of the cold wallets in those people's possessions. Okay? So, as I said, law enforcement can retrieve KYC data, and this afternoon is Honorable Mr. Rashid from Interpol. You can bombard him with questions about how you, in your country, can use Interpol in order to obtain KYC data from regulated exchanges overseas. Yes? Questions? All right. So we're a bit early, but I think I'm not going to bombard you anymore.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Is it possible to make an algorithm that follow the money like as you are doing now?
Yes. Yes, and there's also already commercially available products that do that. My company, Nabu, that's what we do. We have a tool that follows crypto. What? Yeah, sure. Next session. I will show you them. I just don't want to plug, you know. I'm going to show you in this session how you can do it with free tools, no money. Our tool costs money, but it does the process. Okay? Yeah, but you don't need it if you don't need paid tools. If you have analysts that can do the process that I've just done, they can use free tools. Okay? Yeah.
Pointless moving the money from wallet to wallet because first and foremost, whereas I don't know who you are, it's traceable, right? And eventually, you need the money here at some point. It's assumed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What drives?
Because not all exchanges do tracing the same way, and not all exchanges do use the same tools for tracing. So in some countries, when they don't have very good regulation on cryptocurrency exchanges, the only thing the exchange needs to do is check a box saying I have a tool for source of fund checks, and the regulator doesn't care which one, as long as they have one, and they don't check the quality of the tool. So the tool may have I check 4, 5, 20, and that's it. Because the regulator in that country didn't formulate the legislation properly to ensure that the tool the exchanges use for anti-money laundering or counter-terror financing is a good one. So they buy the cheapest one or use a free one, they check the box in the regulation, and that's it, and they have a license. Other countries or other exchanges, like if you look at Coinbase in the United States, they use a very, very good tool. So going to Coinbase with that wallet will lead you to not, you will be captured. But if you go to Chinese exchanges, or if you go to Philippines exchanges at this time, you can get away with it.
Hello. My question is related to the governance of this process, or looking over this process. Do you think whether the regulators from the financial sector or the telecom sector should be involved in the governance of this process, or tracking and if you think that there should be some not interference, but governance intervention from the regulator, which regulator is more suitable, or the telecom or the banking, or whether they both might have roles in this tracking or process of securing this transactions?
I think the financial regulator is the most suitable, because they already have mechanisms for reporting of AML, and counterterrorism. And I think what the regulation should be is, I take the stance of what Leon said yesterday. The regulation should not be on technology; it should be on principles, saying you have to check. So the tool so if you license an exchange in your country, you have to mandate that they use a tool that can check the source of the funds to the Genesis block. You have to say, you have to use a tool that tracks until the end. You have to use a tool that can detect coin jumps or token swaps. You must use a tool that can detect mixing. If you regulate based on principle, not on use the same tool as Coinbase are using, which is, by the way, the most dominant regulation today, because people see Coinbase in the United States as the holy grail, and they say if your compliance is exactly like Coinbase's, then that's okay. Not do that. Regulate based on principle, saying your tool or our AML processes needs to perform the following actions. Track the crypto to its source, to where the bitcoins were mined, where the tokens were mined. I want to see where they came from. Incorporate decent level of intelligence, and you can validate that to be at least as good as public sites. Even that's the bare minimum. Okay, so collect intelligence. And third thing is detect token swaps, detect mixing or demixing. If you do that, then it forces the exchanges to use proper tools. And of course, you have to audit. You have to audit. And in some countries where the AML is performed by the central bank and not by the regulated bodies, which means the central bank is the one using the tools. So you have to have the feed of information from the exchanges to the central bank, and then it's easier because the regulator is the one using the tools. Because I've stumbled several countries, they don't allow the exchanges to do the AML, they do it themselves. They just say, okay, just feed me the transactions, that's all you need to do. And I will do the AML tools. Any more questions before we break for lunch? Okay, so it's lunchtime, and we'll meet back here at 2, and bring your laptops, because you're going to follow a scam.
This is fascinating. So BitDonor, on its very own site, allows you to go to the UK company register site, on which you find their filing history, and that they were
dissolved.
They were forcibly dissolved. But yet, you search this guy's name, the company director.
Yeah.
I find no references that he was being investigated. No, but regardless. You find nothing, no trace of
Yeah.
any investigation, and this website is still up there. So that shows that there's a wholesale
No, and also,
failure of all of the
well,
regulators.
the accounts are still active. You see, there was
Yeah.
transaction yesterday.
Yes. But I'm pretty sure that the financial
Nobody's
regulatory authority.
Nobody's looking. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Wow. I'm actually going to write to this company registry and say, take this site down.